We have a new sponsor supporting the show. It is The Bangman, who is a new startup and have been operating since June this year, delivering a variety of hobby packs in a single box at an affordable price. So far, they've delivered some huge hits. The biggest one they've pulled so far is a Steph Curry Signatures Gold Auto to 10, which came out of the July edition. Some comps have been rounded up to about 15k AUD, which was verified by Card Letter. So if you're not familiar with what the Bangman is and what their product is offering, it's basically an assortment of hobby packets put into a box at an affordable buy-in. You can then open a variety of different hobby packs. Some of the advantages of buying into a product such as this is that you can sample a whole bunch of different products. Another way to think of it is doing your own break at home. The advantage of the Bangman's product is you are purchasing sealed, unsearched hobby packs as opposed to a single card repack product that has a huge range in value. Just to make the clear delineation between the Bangman's product and any traditional repack, when you buy into a Bangman product, you are getting the guarantee of the Panini seal, and then all of the hits then come out of sealed products. So all the numbered cards, if appropriate for the product, rookie patch autographs, signature cards, and of course those super short prints and case hits. Another key point for the Bangman product is that they have an assortment of different hobby packs in a custom box at two different price points, one being a gold edition and the other being a silver edition. Each month, the Bangman changes up the pack so it's not the same constant lineup. For listeners of our podcast, we have an exclusive deal for you. Use promo code youcantcompthis to get a $15 discount off your next purchase. Find the Bangman on Instagram, the.bang.man, and on Facebook, the Bangman. Thank you so much, Amir and Team Bangman.
Welcome everybody to episode 123 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We are your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. First question off the bat, where in the world are you today, Russell?
Feels a bit like that video game, Carmen Sandiego. Where is she?
What's my clue then? What's my clue?
We saw Big Ben and we had an English breakfast today.
Oh, you're in London.
That was probably too easy, wasn't it?
That was yes, that was very much a little too easy. That's all right. Is that further away, being in the UK rather than the US?
It was slowly coming closer home.
Okay, because I was going to say it feels like you're just sort of still on the opposite side of the world, quite literally.
Yeah, but actually, and the time difference is getting less as we're coming this way. So then when we go to our next stop,
okay,
less time difference. So when we finally get home, it's only 3 hours. So we're sort of doing the hard work before we get home. So
I like that. It's yeah, good work, good planning.
It's been an amazing trip.
Awesome.
Enough about my travel details. We need to talk about basketball cards because there's been some
one or two things happening. A few things, yeah.
Some amazing news. I think we've touched on it already, so it's not like our listeners are going to be, completely blown away or shocked by this. But it is now official. LeBron has signed with Fanatics, so
this is big. This, I mean, there's no other way to describe it rather than this is big. So LeBron's is officially signed. Well, we go to the tweet that you shared because it's from your friend Eric Whiteback, the collectibles guru. Breaking: LeBron James has officially signed an exclusive multi-year deal with Fanatics Collectibles and Tops. Previously had an exclusive deal with Upper Deck, which was signed more than 20 years ago. And once he said, looks like we're officially going to see NBA licensed LeBron James autos. Yeah, as soon as the Panini deal expires. Thoughts?
I think without going too nerdy into this, but he uses all capitals for exclusive. I think that was the big. So look, this for me is not so much breaking news. Like, we knew that this was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is, part that's really news for me is the exclusive part, and I think this is the important part because then basically we know we're going to get, unmetered, unfettered LeBron James collectible stuff, and I think that's really important. And again, I don't want to go back into too much stuff that we've talked about on this previously, but I think he has been missing from the hobby, and I think it's, I really hate all this sort of red tape stuff that happens, and At the
Yeah.
end of the day, the hobbyists are the ones who, lose out. But the other thing I think is interesting about this is the wording of it. So Fanatics, collectibles, and Tops. So I think from a card perspective, that means, we're going to get Tops products with him in it.
Correct.
That's beautiful. And then the Fanatics collectibles wording, I did a little bit of Googling on this, and I think that also means other NBA card products, whatever they're going to be called and whatever Fanatics is going to call them, but it's also going to be jerseys, it's going to be balls, it's going to be, all that
There's
full currently licensed stuff that we're seeing at the moment. So
it's definitely going to be a complete like package of stuff. It's not just cards. And you're right, it's not something that is sort of has caught us by surprise. Do you think we're going to see other players now jump? Like I spoke to you about this pre-show. Is there a chance that Luka is no longer going to be Panini exclusive and might jump across? Is LeBron the beginning? Is he the I don't know, the war chant, so to speak, of the Fanatics movement? Because it's a big signing. Do we see Jordan jump on? Does it become a competition now? Like, I don't know. Is there a ripple effect? Is my question.
So what I wrote in the notes in our sheet was Wembanyama. So
Yep.
they've already got easiest prospect to gather, and they've signed him. So you know that he is going to be the most important hobby person. Like, it's just, he's the most clear number one that we've had, for a really long time. And, there's a very big gap between 2 and 3 and, on and on.
For sure.
They've
Yeah.
got him. And then I think, I don't think Caitlin Clark is going to matter to everybody. And I think this, next couple of sentences that I say is only going to touch on, 20% of our listenership. But I think Caitlin Clark is like, the male equivalent of that might be Kareem.
Okay.
She might go on all-time leading point scorer in the WNBA. Like, that's the type of talent that this person has. So, I think the momentum behind WNBA has definitely increased, in terms of the sport and the popularity. And then I would also say, too, we've had very incremental gains in the WNBA trading card space. It's nothing, It's nothing big. I'm not going to blow the doors off with this, but I also think that's very important. So the thing that's also been on my mind, too, is think about how Fanatics has been so aggressive with the other sports taking over the licensing before the license deal has ended. So it seems to me that instead of them just taking over Panini's stock, instead of doing that, they're just putting all their cash into signing, the next wave of people. Because I have no idea what they paid LeBron to come across, but it would not have been cheap.
I feel like he's someone that demands quite a high price if you're going to deal with him.
On Jordan before, and this is why I don't think Jordan will come across. I don't think a company can afford to pay Jordan to do this stuff, because you think about it, right? Upper Deck's been paying him for the last 20 years to do nothing.
Can I can I get my conspiracy hat on?
Oh, mate, how much I love a conspiracy.
We know LeBron and Jordan are both, we'll call them businessmen behind off the court. Is the word ownership up for grabs? Do you think LeBron, there's part of the deal that allows, it's not just an upfront amount of money, that there's something else that you, like, if I want a Jordan on board, I wouldn't be offering him just a price. There's a chance that it's like, you get a piece of the pie if you jump on board. And there's not many players in the world that I think would be offered such a thing. And I think the only two basketballers that would be offered anything like that would be LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I don't know, in 20 years it might be Victor Wembanyama. But yeah, I think at that level, and if Kobe was still with us today, I think that it would be the same. Like, it's that caliber of player would be, we're not just going to pay you a certain amount of money. You get a piece of the pie. You get a piece of the Fanatics pie. And that's just spitballing and theorizing, but I don't know. It's one of those whatever it takes to get those big names. And I think LeBron's the flagship, but if you get LeBron and Jordan on board, God, you've done a job.
I like your idea, and I think it's actually like a very creative thought process, but I think the reason why Jordan won't do that is he's already got his own brand. Like,
he is his own brand, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Right, with
the Jordan
Nike,
the Jordan
and
brand.
Thing too is he just made $2.25 billion off selling the Hornets. So
has he
put a submission in
for pocket change?
Guys like that, I don't actually think would they even care about owning a piece of Fanatics? And also, too, more to the point, I don't think he's interested in signing autographs. If he wanted to be part of the hobby for the last 20 years, he could have made that
He
happen.
would have very easily been. Yep, you're right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I don't think this is this a real conversation? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, I don't think
so
it's
I
a matter
think
of
the
him
real,
wanting to be. I think it's the background. It's the hobby wanting him to be.
oh man,
God, does
can
him
you
not
imagine
wanting to be part of the hobby steer
oh,
goat debate? That's a different discussion. Where we'll park that for another day. But yes,
yeah, I think that's too deep. So let's talk about LeBron, because I think there is
yep,
some hobby relevance here.
hell
So
yeah,
John O'Michaels, who listens to our show, I would say religiously, it's fair to say that. So John, I hope you're well. I saw him posting on one of the pages that he moderates. What will this do to the hobby value of that? So I'll turn that over to you, and then I'll let you know what his thoughts were in that space.
I don't think it'll impact historical prices because there's still a scarcity with the past product. I do think. Well, Kobe autos were around for ages. Do you know what I mean? Like, it hasn't really affected prices. It's just availability. The demand is so high that I don't think I call it the lower or middle end will be affected. At the top end, we might see some impact, but yeah, I don't think historical stuff is going to change because there was also scarcity. It's not like we're going back and printing. Do you know what I mean? Old LeBron cards and getting him to sign them. It's all new product. This is LeBron in year 21 or retired LeBron. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
Definitely.
I don't think it's going to impact in a negative way. But yeah,
Yes.
I'm curious now to know what
Johnny
Jono
said
thought.
he thinks that the prices will go down,
Hmm.
which I think is a really interesting take on it. And so maybe what his perspective is just a pure numbers thing. So if you have 10,000 of something and now there's going to be 30,000 of them, the demand is going down. I mean, look, I'll sort of sit somewhere between you and Jono, because I think some of the LeBron stuff is going to go down. And the stuff that I'm very wary of is the Irish stuff. So I think his high school autos is what's going to really suffer, because if you're paying, say, 1 or 2,000 for that, or you can get timeless moments. But can you imagine like a LeBron timeless moments or a LeBron sneaker spotlight?
Yep. I
Would
know.
you rather put your money into an Irish uniform or that? Like, come on, this is not a conversation. Like,
It's such you think it's just going to shift the market a little bit. Yeah. That's
yeah,
a good. I
definitely.
like that. I like that.
And then you're talking about the scarcity of that old stuff. Like, you can't tell me a dual signed LeBron and Jordan patch autograph is going to go down. Like, that's not going to go down at
That's
all. The
yeah.
only the only other place where I just want to sit in the middle ground here a little bit more is that the projections from Fanatics is that they're going to grow the hobby exponentially. And they're going to be putting basketball cards into NBA arenas. They're going to be putting them into targets the same way that they're putting out Pokemon, so that, the demand for the cards, the exposure for the cards, all this stuff. And it's going to be that
Yeah.
trickle-on effect.
Yeah, for sure.
The other thing that's really been on my mind since I've been traveling is how much advertising for gambling that there is in America, and even so in London, right? But
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like hear me out for two seconds with this.
Mm.
Fanatics is also now running a gambling thing. So can you cross promote your gambling hand in hand with sports card and memorabilia? Or more the relevant question is, would you think Fanatics would actually do that? And in my heart of hearts, the answer is yes. Of course they would. If they're going to make money off
Of course
something.
they will. It's the question. The question that comes up for me is it ethical to do so?
I think the ethical conversation is like, that's
That's
the same
too.
thing what you said before. It's a thing for another show, right? And I
Yeah.
think we don't like really touch on that. But I think what the really important thing is, and this is what the criticism of Panini is, they actually had a lot of success, but they didn't do any marketing. And this is where Fanatics can, potentially improve the demand for cards. They'll market it, they'll, create
Sure.
all this
Yeah. Look, I think
enthusiasm.
Fanatics are going to be great for the hobby, and I love the idea of being able to go to a local, like a sports shop in a shopping center, or like looking at a pair of kicks and then being like, oh, there are signed balls in here, and there's a few autographed jerseys, and
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'm going to get a box of whatever. Like, I'm going to pick up a
So I don't,
packs. Yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
exactly. I don't think that means LeBron autos are going to go down. And that's where I'm heading with this. I think if you're telling me that more LeBron autos is going to make it go down, okay, yeah, that's fine. But I don't think that's looking at the whole picture of what's going to be happening here. So
I think
look,
there will be,
overall,
there will be times where it dips because people will think there's too much of it available. And then people will realize that the old stuff has a limited quantity. There was a huge gap. And then the new stuff will have a level of demand that is already in excess.
or that you could say you got in early now that the demand's actually going up high. And I think
Yep.
that we can't ignore that argument. I think that's
Yeah.
probably, and that's where I'm gonna like lay with this, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
All
good
right,
with that.
so let's go from maybe the most positive story that we've had in a very long time to quite potentially one of the more negative stories that we've had for a little while. Ja Morant is out for the rest of the year. So I think,
Yeah.
the thing for me that's I'm sort of sitting here chuckling a little bit, and that's just my Schadenfreude just like totally coming through right now. But we were very patiently waiting for Ja to come back from his suspension. There
Mm-hmm.
was this huge excitement with him coming back. The Grizzlies were surging. It was all looking, really amazing, and then this
Yeah.
happens. It's really, it's bad. This is not a good thing. But I
No.
think the take or the thing I want to get from you is, what does this mean for Ja Morant in the next 12 months? And what does it mean for Ja Morant in the next 5 years? Like, where do you sit with this kid now? Because Al, our friend of the show, one of our main listeners, he's been calling him the modern day Latrell Sprewell for quite a long time now. And, I know Al's going to be sitting there saying I was right already. So
It's got Latrell Sprewell vibes. Well, I'm going through the Facebook page. I tend to agree with Joe. Joe Fu, Shaq Fu 32, who has said that Ja's on the Derrick Rose career trajectory. I hope not. I really
but
hope not.
see, I don't actually agree with that, because Derrick Rose was an MVP by this age.
True.
So
I also
you
think
could
that
say
Ja
he's a
could have
poor
been.
man's Derrick Rose. You
There we
can't say
go.
he's Derrick Rose, though.
He's definitely not Derrick Rose.
He's
But
not a poor man's Derrick
I
Rose. Do you know what I'm saying?
certainly,
Like,
I think he's an MVP caliber player.
Derrick Rose won an MVP. I think. Do you remember how good that kid was? It was wild.
Kid was all right. Kid was all right. You're fair. But you saw the return a couple of weeks ago, or a few weeks ago now, when Ja came
It was
back.
awesome.
It was like nothing hadn't missed a beat, straight on the floor, and I was happy. I was like, oh, he has learned his lesson. He's ready to ball out. He's ready to put this team on his back, and I reckon the Grizzlies might be pushing for a play-in spot. And like he overtook Detroit's record within a few games. He had 3 wins before Detroit did. But and then to see this injury, it's just it's a cruel game, basketball, when it comes to injuries and things like that. Yeah, it's really sad when you see someone in their prime go down like this. And I think as long as Ja does the work, like he's shown that he's done the disciplinary stuff, as long as he stays with a clear head, does his rehab, and comes back and does all the right things, I don't see him not being a relevant player. But hobby-wise, I think this could be a struggle. Which is sad because I got a couple of jars, but yeah.
So why don't we just read the next comment? Because I think the next comment is probably where you just finished off, and probably where I'm sitting with, if I can be perfectly honest with you.
Sure.
So Corey Gilbert says, keeping all my jar and might even jump on some cheap ones over the next few months. And so I think if you, again, go down through the comments a little bit more, and I can't verify this in terms of the accuracy of this, but I would also not disagree with it either. Torn labrum isn't a big issue long term unless there's an underlying structural issue. Most people tear out the front and are able to bounce back. So again, I used Dr. Google. I had a bit of a look into this. There's nothing to say that in 12 months he won't be back. I think the other thing to really think about the horrific injury that Jamal Murray had.
Yeah.
When you watch him play now, don't think too. The
No.
sports science is so good these days.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
not fussed about this, frankly, at all. So look, that's probably where I'm sitting. I think he's going to get crushed though, because this is now the second thing in 6 months, which is
Yeah.
not
It's
fantastic. Like,
relevant.
let's be
It's
honest here.
relevant. Yeah.
And I think even look, I'm not investing in this guy, so I'm saying this from a very objective point of view. I
Mhm.
feel a little bit deflated with Jar. So I think if you're holding Jar and you've just bought into him, I think that feeling of disillusionment is real. So I'm actually anticipating he's going to go down quite a bit.
The here we go again scenario.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. So look, the card ladder statistics don't reflect that at all. So all of his growth, apart from 6 months, so in the last 3 months he's up 5%. In the last month he's up 6%, and in the last 2 weeks he's up 5%. But I would hazard a guess if we come back and look at this in another month, he's going to be down quite a bit. So this is the next part of the conversation, right? So Jar at the moment is currently sitting at 480.
Yep.
Cade Cunningham's sitting at 310. Tyrese Halliburton's sitting at 496. And then the other one I just wanted to chuck into this conversation was Zion Williamson, because we haven't checked in on him for quite a while, and he's actually playing pretty decent basketball. He's sitting at 295.
Zion. I mean, I guess everyone's being very hesitant with Zion. Is that something that's going to happen with Jar, do you think?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen here. I think Cade is going to strengthen up a little bit more, because he's been playing, despite how badly Detroit's been playing, he's been playing well. I think Halliburton's going to get a kick out of this. And I do wonder if a bit of cash comes out of Jar and goes into Zion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprised how low Zion is at 295.
I'm not surprised, because he goes through his spurts where he looks amazing, and then he's and then season-ending injury, or I don't know, spends too long at a burger joint and gains 100 pounds. I just he does there's always something with Zion. He hasn't had a trouble-free season yet.
Last month he's down. Sorry, after you.
No, I just think I just think everyone's got the buyer beware. People that are buying in now, obviously there are people that lost out with the hype train because he did crash a bit, but it's all about the point in which you buy in. I just think people aren't sure where to dip their toe in yet, because historically something goes wrong with Zion, and I think Jar will have the same problem with people reinvesting down the track.
I'm not trying to say something that would create a headline, but this is not buyer beware. This is it's a crash. It's a very steep decline. So in the last month, he's down 25%. The last 3 months, he's down 46%. The last 6 months, he's down 49%. And the last year, he's down 66%. We're talking.
People are off Zion. They're well and truly off.
The irony is he's actually playing pretty well, and the Pelicans have got a good record.
So what needs to happen then to change this $300 price point?
I think it's a sustained period of excellence.
Because I think there are even time the ship rights itself when the Pelicans go on a fairly decent stretch, but we've seen once again historically, all of a sudden something hits the fan and the Pelicans are in the toilet. Zion's out for 3 weeks. There's inconsistency again. So my question is, if Zion is good through to the postseason and we don't see any nonsense, does this tick up, or do we stay? Is this the floor and we sit here? And I've got no idea, because I don't know.
If it stays here, that basically just means that all the people that were holding these cards weren't hobbyists. They were just literally flippers and
Sports
people
card
outside of the
investors.
hobby coming in. Yeah, right. So, I mean, that's an interesting, piece in itself, right?
Cade's an interesting. They're all of these players have got an interesting story. I think Cade's going to be a story that's going to evolve, given how bad Detroit are at the moment. Yeah. Zion, but you're right. Zion's balling out at the moment. So when's that going to be reflected in the hobby? I don't know. Once bitten, twice shy. And that's probably my concern with Jar as well. Like the injury, we'll see how he comes back from the injury. He came back from the drama pretty quick, like pretty healthy, because it wasn't an injury. So we'll see how he deals with an injury, like a season-ending injury. But I think he'll be okay. He's not 38 years old. Like if LeBron was getting this surgery, he'd be in retirement, right?
He probably wouldn't get the surgery. Probably just play through it at this point, wouldn't he?
Correct. So I don't know.
Or they'll do something else just to get him through. Hey, look. Final thought on this, and we'll move on. But of these four guys, Zion, Tyrese, Cade, and Gar, what would you buy right now?
That's a good question.
Kind of fun, right?
Tyrese Halliburton, and I know it's basically paying double compared to everybody else, but yeah, I'm on. I think Tyrese.
With Cade, I actually think we've missed the train because he's up quite a bit now.
He's the ship is righting.
I think I would be monitoring Zion's and seeing where the bottom is and trying to jump in pretty close to the bottom. Like that 295, that's super interesting to me.
It's very tempting, that's for sure. I don't know.
EJ Trader Cards, EJ Cards, our beloved sponsor who've been with us from day one, are having their 4th anniversary trade day, Sunday, the 4th of February, Shop 3, 2 to 4 Whitehorse Road in Blackburn, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Designated kids trading card zone. You're not allowed to do that joke this time, Ed.
All
which
right.
will be staff supervised. It doesn't say adult supervisor, it says staff supervisor. You notice how they've used that wording so that RIMP can do the supervision?
That's pretty funny. You know what I've noticed this time round?
RIMP, we love you.
We love you, RIMP. But bottom right corner of this advertisement, Extreme Shot Basketball Machine Tournament. I'm excited. Yeah. I am gonna make sure I am down there. I would like to speak to RIMP, to Jules, to everybody down at EJ's. I would like to know if I'm allowed to sign up for the tournament. I don't know. Maybe we should go down and commentate. That would be.
We'll be the challenge me to a shootout.
Shootout. We'll have a shootout, and we'll be like, you know, in all those basketball movies, you've got the 2 courtside announcers. That'll be us. You know the ones I'm talking about.
Oh, this could be this could end spectacularly bad or spectacularly well. It could go either way, I think.
What a great show that ended after 125 episodes that we got cancelled.
Free drinks and snacks all day. The return of Carson's Pokemon 4th anniversary box, discounted singles, and they do good discounts on the days. They usually do 10 or 20% off. Anyway, something significant. Mega NBA mystery boxes, live openings. It's going to be great. So are you coming down now?
I am coming down. It's Sunday the 4th of February. I do not have any plans at this stage, so I am going to lock that one into the calendar. I will be down for sure.
Yeah, I should put that into the calendar too. All right.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I guess we say thank you to EJ Cards as well for being such a long-time sponsor of the show now. Yeah.
New Year's resolutions. We got some listener feedback on this. Jared Begg to try and finish off some Westbrook rainbows and acquire more high-end Jordan inserts. And yeah, definitely that's on my radar too this year, getting some Jordan inserts, I think. That's almost a no-brainer for a collector, isn't it?
Yeah. What have we got? Who's next? Matthew Hull. I bought all I can and need to flip what I don't want in the run to the finals. I want to maximize value. However, I want to make sure that the hobby is growing positively. So no caving to low ball offers like I did last year. I also just want more Tatums, to be honest.
Selling cards is hard because it takes a lot of effort to list them and all this sort of stuff. And then, particularly when the market has been a bit fickle, it does feel like you are caving sometimes. But I wonder if in the last 12 months, just getting a sale is, a sign of success, and it's as simple as that.
It's definitely a difficult market at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony Mill, for me, it's upgrading to a higher grade as possible and stop overbuying. Yeah, I think the overbuying thing is a real thing. Wish the hobby all the best in the future and hope it continues to grow value and younger generations get involved like us in the right way for the love of the hobby. Last, but I hope it stops, is window shoppers only post what you're looking for. when you can afford to buy. No disrespect, just stop the time wasting. I'm not too sure how I feel like that's someone else's New Year's resolution, not yours, though. Do you know?
Yeah, exactly. What have we got? ADOS. He's got a few
Really good one.
resolutions here. I like this. Number 1, stop buying raw cards off eBay. Too many cards are returned with defects not mentioned in the description. eBay is tightening up on everything, which I think is good, including auto payment for sellers. Number 2, choosing a team to follow. I think I'm a Nuggets fan. Number 3, consolidate smaller value cards into bigger value cards. I think that's a really good one. Number 4, get to the gym 4 times a week and follow macronutrients. All right, number 4 might be a bit.
Let's just cross it off the list straight away. Come on,
Yep.
we know he's not going to be doing that.
Yeah. Oh, come on, it's January. He might be following it for all of 3 days. Who knows?
I just think that he became a Nuggets fan sort of 2 years too late.
I feel like
I
feel like he stepped onto the bandwagon kind of thing.
Yeah, but the train's already left the station, though, I think, for that.
It's true. Well, maybe that'll be why. Like, he won't have to get to the gym 4 times. He's too busy chasing the bandwagon, the Nuggets bandwagon, to try and get on board.
Right.
Yeah.
So the consolidate smaller value cards into big ones, that's like a no-brainer. And I think if that's what you enjoy and that's what you want to do, perfect, that's fine.
Yeah.
Here's number 1, though. I'm going to push back on this, though, because we've actually really made an effort to go to card stores in the US.
Yeah.
And it has blown my mind how few cards are available to purchase at card stores. The predominant thing that card stores sell is sealed product, some memorabilia, and like repacks. And they'll sell some cards in the window, but frankly, the range isn't that great. And then I would say the overall pricing has been 50% above comps. Let's just say it like that, right? So fine. You don't want to buy off eBay. It's very difficult to buy from card stores, and not to mention inconvenient and inconsistent what you're going to get. So where are you going to go buy from? I don't disagree with his premise of what he's saying. In fact, I would agree with it. Like, I've had some absolute stinkers in the last 12 months, raw stuff coming off eBay. But like, I think that's a little bit part of the hobby, unfortunately. So where do you go? So are you saying Alt is a good thing to go to? Do you go to this Chinese eBay? Do you go to PWCC? Do you go to Goldens? I just think.
Yeah. It makes it difficult.
But aren't you going to have the same issue on a different platform?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's. I'm going to try and read between the lines a little bit. He said stop buying raw cards. So maybe he's looking for graded stuff. Maybe he's like, I'm sick of being disappointed by raw purchases because it's not exactly what I envisaged, like I saw in the photo. There is a defect on the card, so it's not going to grade well. So bugger it, I'll just buy the graded card.
Yeah, yes. With more and more graded cards coming out, like it's not. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like maybe I took it from a 2 different.
I get the I guess you'd call it, and they're not always just like people aren't trying to mislead. Always, I'm sure there are people in the world that are like, I hope no one notices there's a dent on the back of the card. I'm going to take photos in a certain way so it looks a certain way. But there are legitimate people that don't notice a defect and sell it, and then it doesn't grade well because there's a surface mark or something. But I guess raw, that's one of the terms and conditions with which you buy a raw card.
Yeah, and I was just thinking then, is it also too about pack fresh? So, for example, something can be pack fresh but be PSA 6, right? It doesn't mean you've taken the card and damaged it. You could have just literally
could be off center.
Taken it out of the packet, put it into a sleeve in a top loader, and put it onto eBay. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Actually, let's move on. This is getting too deep.
Let's go back to the gym.
Timothy Price, a couple of higher end value Tatum sets. The second person that's talked about Tatum. I actually think Tatum is hot property at the moment.
Sneaky.
I want to have added to the PC prior to year's end. Sneaker spotlight. Yeah, beautiful. A downtown. I don't have an a boom. I don't have. Still chasing other Tatums with targeting adding these before the end of the year. Yep. Timothy, that sounds perfect.
Luke's just said try and pick up a LeBron auto. Well, we've just said that's going to be a whole lot easier. So maybe that's a 2025 resolution. Is that when Fanatics take over? Or was it 26? It might be easier to
25, 26, but please don't base your life
on our
gambling around that.
And Timothy Price again.
Come up again. I've added a nuance that's listening to the show a bit earlier. Finished some old insert sessions. Yeah, you can't just have all these sets sitting around half finished. It's just a bit of nonsense, isn't it, really? C for the win on that one.
And we did inspire some set chasing and some completion work. Yeah. Nathan Lee Thomas to finally get a Shaq Heat uni auto. I like that. Like very specific, just like our friend Shaq Fu. Travis Parker.
More RPAs.
Yep.
Beautiful.
More RPAs. It's literally it sounds like it doesn't matter. We're just going to get cards that are RPAs.
If you filter down your collection to that, I think that's a great way to go.
It's like I only collect yeah, that's pretty cool. It's the same philosophy, I guess, as collecting an individual player, one type of card. Continue to work on my sets and hopefully pick up some cheap jar SSPs at the end of the season. Well, Dane,
I think your wishes have been granted.
Yeah, that's going to happen. There'll be plenty of cheap jars. There's going to be plenty of cheap jars. Well, no, you never know. It might not. The hobby behaves. People in the hobby behave very strangely,
predictable ways.
Yeah. I think there's some good resolutions there.
It's really cool. So thanks everyone for chipping in for that, and please keep the socials coming. This next ad break is brought to you by Slambox, Australia's best value basketball repacks. Visit www.slambox.com.au to check out the latest series or join the Facebook page DJ's Trading Cards and message David directly. Slambox features big-name autographs including Giannis, Zion, LaMelo, Banchero, Chet, Ja, Tatum, and more. Super short prints, case hits from a variety of different products including National Treasures, Flawless, Noir, Immaculate, Impeccable, and more. Slambox has different tiered product levels to cater for all budget levels and collector preferences. Thank you, Slambox, for your support. From @Woj ESPN sources, Clippers star Kawhi Leonard has signed a 3-year, $153 million contract extension. Adam, I'll send this over to you first, and you can answer this in a basketball perspective, or you can answer it in a hobby perspective, because
hobby perspective, I'll start with the hobby perspective by giving a moment's silence, because that's how I feel Kawhi is in the hobby. But yeah, like from a basketball perspective, I think that's really good for Kawhi. That's what's his per? So it works out as probably, if you prorate it to playing a full season, he's probably on close to 300 million, because he only plays half the games, doesn't he? I'm being I'm having a dig at Kawhi right now.
I think it's a reasonable joke to make, because he hasn't played a lot of games, but to me also the timing of him now playing a lot of games and signing an extension is very coincidental to me.
I think it's look, I play a bunch of games in a row. I'm not going to do what I used to do. Extension signed, Kawhi out for the... You watch, Kawhi will now have a bit of a break, I think. It's hard work signing contract extensions. You might need a few bit of load management.
I think this is really important for the Clippers, because essentially they've gone all in on this team, and now that they've added James Harden and then they're going into their new arena next year, I think that was the whole narrative, is that they didn't want to go into this new arena in Inglewood sort of undercooked, and they weren't going to have a good team. They wanted a lot of momentum there. So I think Kawhi Leonard's health is really important to that.
Yeah, for sure.
The prospect of losing Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George all to free agency, I think, is horrific. So, what are they paying him? $50 million a year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that to me sort of gives me nightmares personally, but also too, what was the second choice there? That's where my sort of mindset is going.
What are you going to get back for him? Where are you going to bring someone else in? You 40 games a season out of Kawhi, or 40 to 50 games a year out of Kawhi. Is that better than random prospect X that you don't know what you're going to get? And Kawhi's got a pretty impressive CV when he is on the floor. So
that's exactly what Lawrence Frank said. So Lawrence Frank is the GM of the Clippers, who is frankly a guru of basketball. I actually respect like what he says and what he does a lot. I've got no problems. But basically, he said, how did he say it? He said, so Kawhi Leonard can't play a full season of basketball, but not everybody can play basketball at the high level that Kawhi Leonard does. So when he's right, he's like one of the the best in the league. Is basically what he's saying.
Correct.
I won't push back on that. So that's my sort of basketball take on that. My hobby take on this, though, is that I don't think this is going to move the needle in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And actually, my hobby opinion on Kawhi Leonard is that he is one of the most steady or stable commodities, and I'm using air quotes when I'm saying this, that you can buy in basketball. Because I think even if he never plays another game after today, his resume is just impeccable.
Yep.
And the amount that he's signed is so low that all of his RPA stuff, any rookie order that you can get of this guy, I personally think is probably double under comps or maybe even under triple. So
yeah.
Now, do I have anything objective to back that up with? No, I don't. And we've been talking off air about doing a Kawhi Leonard segment for a while, but I just haven't been able to put it all together in any logical sort of way. So that segment is coming, but that's my opinion.
We need to find a way to make it more fun than Kawhi himself, because we know he's a fun guy.
It has to be fun. I just think the narrative, we have to somehow say the narrative. You just need to demonstrate to people just how amazing this guy's resume has been already. You know what I mean? I think that's anyway. So that's my Kawhi Leonard thing. All right, going from one veteran to another. So Draymond Green's been reinstated. I thought his press release about this was very Draymond in that he spoke to Adam Silver, and the conversation involved him wanting to retire because he didn't want to be without basketball and he didn't want to deal with this anymore. And it's just the easy way out. And Adam Silver talked him out of a rash decision. Like, is there any more of a Draymond Green?
I don't know. If he accidentally hit Adam Silver during that conversation, maybe it'd feel more Draymond. I don't know.
I have to say, it was a pretty stiff penalty for what he did and what he ended up. So he got 12 games in the end.
I don't know.
I feel like severe penalty.
It's a track record thing though. Like, it's not his first offense.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely the track record that is what added to his penalty.
It is, but I think punishment and crime. I don't think. Look, I'm actually not a Draymond defender. Yeah. By the way, I'm just trying to be objective about this. I actually don't think it matches, but
I don't know. Yeah, I think Draymond is. Look, I think he's just struggling with what his role has become because he's not the player he used to be, and he's trying to reinvent.
Do you think his role has changed though?
No, I think he's still the glue guy. He's still
athleticism.
I think his athleticism is letting him down a bit. He's not Defensive Player of the Year Draymond Green, and when you sort of lose, he's lost a step. His frustrations are coming to the fore because that was what his identity was. I don't know. I think there's still a place for him at the Warriors, but maybe this is the end of the road kind of thing. That last championship was that dynasty's swan song. I don't know. I feel like they're just, the league is getting is getting better year by year, and this Warriors group, they're getting a little bit older, and I think it's not. Yeah, I think they're going to try and reinvent themselves. Something drastic is going to happen eventually. But at the moment, the Warriors are a shadow of their former self. We'll see what happens when they're healthy, if they can get healthy. On that, there's other news. If we want to talk about that at the same point.
Yeah, look, I agree with you at the end of the dynasty thing. And I've already said this. I think it's a really just sort of sad, slow death that this team's dying, and Wiggins is just in an absolute hole, and Klay Thompson, his good games seem to be almost infrequent now, and no Draymond, really, really hurts this team. And look, yeah. I think if you're trying to find a silver lining out of this, and I think if you're trying to find some hobby relevance out of this, is Kuminga, because it's obvious that the person who's benefited the most from Draymond Green's absence has been Jonathan Kuminga.
Sure.
Look, my gut feeling all along with Kuminga was that he was going to be a very slow burn just for the fact that he was on such a veteran-laden team. I think that was always going to be the way. He was not ever going to get opportunity quickly.
Yep.
So I think now is a really good time to be like, is Kuminga a good purchase or not? And I think that's that's where I sort of sit with this personally. The hobby value of Draymond Green, I always try and tie this back somewhat to card value. Look, the best I can really find here is a 2012 Silver Prism PSA 9. I couldn't even find a PSA 10.
Yeah.
That last sold for 192 USD. The population of this is 18. Look, I actually think that's a very reasonable price for this personally. The topic of this segment is Draymond Green being reinstated. Do I think this is going to have any impact on his thing? This is to me is like Kawhi Leonard. Like if this guy never plays again, his hobby value is set. I don't think he's
true.
going to go up.
True.
I don't think he's going to be going down. And I'd probably say, if anything, this is probably a very good long-term buy.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to, go up. I don't think this is going to go down. I think over time it's going to go very slowly upwards. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. Look, there are players once they're in that twilight of their career that whatever happens at this stage isn't really the thing that impacts their hobby value. Like the career's been played out.
And he's had more success than 90% of the league ever has had. He's been amazingly successful. So
true.
Look, I've got a lot of respect for him. I just find it very painful, like the way this is all just like filtering
watching it.
down.
Well, I think, and I'll lead into the next bit of news, and that's that Chris Paul is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, and I think it was a very. I want to choose my words carefully because I don't want to say desperate, but it feels like it was a desperate move by the Warriors to stay relevant. Chris Paul on this team, like it was adding another point guard. Steph Curry's their point, right? And yeah, I get if you have one of those two on the court at all times, things are in good hands. Like the ship is being steered quite well. But yeah, I think another old veteran on an already aging out like dynastic team is not going to right the ship. I think they need something young. They needed youth. They needed some to re-energize their list. And Chris Paul in waves looked great, but I think it's making the same issues more glaringly obvious with the injuries. And now Chris Paul's got a fractured hand, left hand, and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. So I don't know. It just sort of adds to the problem.
Can I give you an alternate take on that?
Ooh.
So they traded basically Jordan Poole for Chris Paul. Would you settle on that as a very crude summary of how the transactions happened?
Relatively speaking, yes.
Yeah. Jordan Poole is currently dead last in the league with a plus minus of minus 342. So if you say to me, would you trade someone with a plus minus of minus 342 for arguably one of the better point guards of our generation, but he's in the aging part of his career, I would say most people will be like, yeah, that's totally fine. Like, I'll wear a little bit of age knowing that our team's going to be, over the hill anyway. The other thing too is they've actually got enough prospects in this team. Like, do they need another Jordan Poole? They've got Jonathan Kuminga at 21 years of age. They've got Moses Moody, which is he's probably the one that I'm surprised hasn't, had a bit more uptick. And then they've got this kid that's just come out, Brandon, excuse my pronunciation, Podziemski. Steve Kerr has come out and spoke about him multiple times, saying that he's going to be played. He loves the kid, on and on and on.
Okay.
From my own little prospecting pile, Jerome Robinson's on the team. I actually quite like him. I'm sort of surprised he hasn't gone further.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter that they lose Jordan Poole. Like, the guy's an absolute head case.
Reframing the Chris Paul deal as we got rid of Jordan Poole and turned him into Chris Paul, that seems like a good idea. But
That's a
it's
no-brainer. Like,
yes.
yeah.
I don't know. But would they got more of just waving Poole rather than getting Paul back?
If you can get something for Jordan Poole, you do it, and that's what they did.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
turned
true,
something
true.
into something. So I was actually as a Wizard. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of Russell's holiday tales at the moment. So what I had been doing before games was buying last-minute tickets on SeatGeek, because
Nice.
if you buy seats at tip off, so if it tips off at 7, you buy a seat at 5 minutes to 7 or 7 o'clock. Like, people just dump their tickets and you get really good deals. So I did that on multiple games and I was doing pretty good out of it. When the Wizards played at home, the Knicks came to town. And I didn't factor this in at all. And then the Knicks bought out all the vacant seats. So it was really difficult. So in the end, I just took a seat in the third arena part. So
Yeah.
it was a fine seat. Every seat in the stadium is pretty good. You can see the whole thing, but it was not what I was planning at the start of the night. Let me put it to you that way. The other thing that happened during the Knicks fans were chanting louder than the Wizards fans were. That's how many Knicks fans were in the crowd. But Jordan Poole did have a comical moment where he was leading the fast break, somehow took 4 steps, didn't get called for travel, passed to I think it might have been Denny or Kuzma, and they hit a 3-pointer. So it was that ultimate sort of like, Jordan Poole moment.
Yeah.
But the whole time in my head when I was watching this, they're just abysmal, this Washington Wizards team, honestly.
They're a train
I just
wreck.
wanted to look up how many draft picks they've got in the future, and do they own their own draft picks in the future? And the answer is yes. So
Okay.
they do owe the Houston Rockets a draft pick in this coming draft, but it's top 12 protected.
Yeah.
And then in 2025, it's top 10 protected. So they're not going to be good this year. That's already known. Next year, I'm assuming they're going to try and tank again. And then 2026, it's top 8 protected. So it's possible that they're mediocre in 2026 and they don't even get their draft picked. Like, it's a real nightmare, this team. Like, I think, is there a more tormented fan base in the league now than the Washington Wizards? That's my question to you.
There's no other franchise that I would say has less upside or more downside than Washington. I don't like they're at rock bottom and there's no ladder. Like, it's nice that they've got their picks, but there is no light at the end of the tunnel. They are stuck down the bottom of the well. Like, there's no
Actually,
Wembenyana coming in the next couple of drafts from all accounts. Do you know what I mean?
that
Like, how
situation
do they
isn't
turn
as
this
stable as what
around?
you would want it to be. I
Mm,
don't know, because imagine if they lose one of those picks or two of those
they're
picks in the next
cooked.
3 years. Like, that would just be, I don't know.
They don't have assets that are worth anything to anybody else. Like, yeah, I don't know. I really feel I feel for the Wizards fans. It's not good. That's for
No,
sure.
it's
It's
not
not
good.
good.
So the positives of that game for me was Denny Algebra. I thought he played with a lot of heart and he tried his best. And
Mm,
then I got to see OG and Anunoby again. I was so happy about that. I love watching that guy play basketball, so I was
yeah,
stoked about that. I thought we could do a quick check-in
yeah.
post
Let's
the Knicks and Raptors trade. So the Knicks are 5-1 since OG has joined the team. They won the first 5 games. They've dropped their last one. I think that's totally fine. Hobby-wise, OG in the last month is actually down 25%, which I'm really surprised about. It might be the fact that we just haven't had enough time to see some of the new sales coming through,
yeah.
so we can maybe check in again. But I'm definitely shocked on that. The other one I wanted to check up too because is Jalen Brunson. That's the one that I'm really interested to see how this guy's going because so the last month he's up 6%, and that's probably
Wow.
what I'd be expecting from this guy because I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to get that really big spike, but is he someone that is going to keep on trickling up? So he's currently sitting at 127. I think if we zoom out further on this guy, that's probably going to be the real thing. Oh no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I was going to say if we look at the last year, he's only up 10%. I thought that was going to be 50%, to be perfectly honest with you. I still think he's a good buy, honestly. With the way that he plays basketball and all right, then the last one's
Brunson's good.
sorry, mate. What were you going to say?
Brunson's good. Brunson's found a place in New York, I think. So, yeah, I think it's not dropping anytime. We're not bottoming out anytime soon. I think he will be on an upward trajectory. It depends. It just depends on time. I think it's going to take a while for people to notice how good the Knicks are playing at the moment.
RJ Barrett, the last month he's up 30%. I actually suspect that this is pre-trade movement because he was already playing well before he was, moved on. But he's been playing really well in Toronto, so there's no reason that's going to keep going up too. So he's currently sitting at $64 for a PSA 10 silver.
Yeah.
Population on that is high though. It's 1,300. It's nearly 1,400. That's the only thing. Look, maybe that's $100 card. Maybe there's $40
That's
in
from
it.
the Ja Morant school of let's grade a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, second last item. So Hard Ladder. This is a sale that they put up. I'm putting this in because it's a Tim Duncan card too. So 1998 Ultra Tim Duncan Masterpieces. It's a 1 of 1. So it's not just a regular Tim Duncan insert or card. PSA 7 came in at, but it sold for $42,000. I am actually shocked at someone would spend that much money on a Tim Duncan card. There's not normally this much money, going into, Duncan stuff. So I'm very warmed by this. I've personally felt that he's been undervalued for a really long time. So I love this.
I have a question about that. So how many 1 of 1s are there of Tim Duncan? Because I know if you go to 130 point, you can download a checklist of all of the cards and that a certain player has. So that might be a factor.
I don't know the answer to that, and I would say he would have 10% 1 of 1s compared to what the modern players have, just for the fact that there's, multiple 1 of 1s in each set. Select, Prism, Mosaic, blah blah blah.
So given it's from 98 Ultra, maybe it's a I don't know. I'm unfamiliar. I'm unfamiliar with the early 1 of 1s, I guess we'll call it.
Alrighty, this is our last segment of today, and this is around eBay listings and practices around listings. So I was buying off someone who I'm very happy to purchase off, and actually I bid on his things quite a lot because he always has stuff that is A, good, and B, that I'm interested in. So I tend to go to his listings quite a bit. He was listing cards, however, as 1 of 1s when they weren't 1 of 1s. So he was using listing of 1 of 1 if it's 1 out of 10, or if it's 10 out of 10, he would also write in the listing 1 out of 1. So I sent him a DM, and I basically said, look, I think this is misleading. And his response was, well, everybody on eBay does this, which I don't really like that thought process. That's like the whole thing of when you're a kid and you're talking to your parents saying, oh, Billy did this. And they said, well, did you jump off a cliff at the same time? You know what I mean? Like if someone jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? I think it's the same.
It doesn't justify. It doesn't justify the behavior because everybody else does it. Doesn't change whether it's right or wrong. Yeah.
So his exact wording was, we also refer to the list of other sellers. And look, to be honest, I didn't reply back to him. I just left it as is. I reported a couple of them to eBay. The automated eBay response was, we see no problems with this. I reported it as being misleading.
Yep.
Because that's my gripe here, is that people who are new to the hobby, who are maybe looking for 1 of 1s, will put in 1 of 1 to think, oh, they're getting a bargain here, but actually the card is numbered to 30 or to 15 or to 99, not
or
actually
to 199. Like it could be anything. Yeah,
absolutely. That's exactly right. So
yeah,
I've clearly put my line in the sand on this. I'm definitely keen to hear what you have to say about this. So
we spoke a little bit about this off air. I've heard the term eBay 1 of 1 since I came back into the hobby and started jumping in breaks. I've heard various people refer to the term, but I also on eBay calling something an eBay 1 of 1 or referring to it as a 1 of 1. I agree with you that is messing with someone's search algorithm, like actually the search term. So if I'm looking for a 1 of 1 and I get eBay 1 of 1, which is not, Yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating. And I agree that putting it in the actual title is intent to mislead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
Like,
I suppose
I think the description, like if I've got a brief summary of the card, and it's like, yeah, come and get this Kobe Bryant eBay 1 of 1 numbered 8 of whatever, right? Because, and I'll remember my first few breaks, like with Cherry, Grayson would always say eBay 1 of 1 if it was the player's jersey number. Or if there was any way to correlate the number of the card to like their date of birth, their mother's birthday, the number of children they have, like the ridiculous number of things that someone can relate the numbering of the card, the embossed number, back to the player, earns it the title of eBay 1 of 1.
but I think so I think the way I presented was like it was misleading, right? And the
Yeah.
way that the wording you used was
Intent?
frustrating in terms of
Yeah.
getting the wrong search results. And I think both of those perspectives is fine. Like I
Yeah.
don't actually disagree with what you're saying. The only thing I would disagree with here though is like, so instead of saying 1 of 1, why don't they just write jersey numbered, or why don't they just write
I
this is
like
how many
that.
children, or this is how many children the athlete has? Like, do you know what I mean? Why do they have to use 1 of 1 when that is actually inaccurate? And then again, in my mind, like misleading. So, because if
Yeah.
something was jersey numbered, that would be like, I understand why collectors go for the jersey numbered cards.
It's
I
a
get
draw
that
card though, but
100%.
it's an
Yeah.
audible draw card. Like calling it an eBay 1 of 1. The term 1 of 1 pricks your ears up. Like it's
It doesn't prick my ears up, mate. It
it's
just
a
gives me the
buzzword,
absolute.
but it's a buzz term. And I agree. As far as putting it into a computer and typing a search and it bringing up these things that aren't actually 1 of 1s. Yeah.
When I started this buzzword out, and I would like to have a word with them. I don't like this at all.
The Urban Dictionary we would have a consult with the slang we use in the hobby.
I would like to speak to the manager, please. Yeah.
I'm curious to know what the
Okay.
listeners think. I should put a little post up on the group.
Yeah, let's put a post up about it to get the general consensus. But
Yeah.
I'll probably just edit out all the ones that don't agree with my opinion. To be honest, I'm pretty, I'm pretty, I'm pretty set on this one, man. It's just damn annoying. Just people will stop doing it.
Time and a place, people. Time and a place.
This is not going to be democratic. This next segment at all. Just giving you a heads up, everyone.
Oh goodness.
Final thoughts, Ad. What do you got for me?
I've got a few eBay 1 of 1s out the back, but I'm not going to list them on eBay and put them in the
Oh, jeez.
I'll list them as what they actually are. How's that?
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a very, very a bumper to bumper episode. I think there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack in the league and in the hobby at the moment. But I'm happy. I like the way things.
Segued, Adam. I'm proud of us. Actually, that was amazing.
Yeah, we were on song today. I'll save some of my segues for some of our future discussions. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm sad, a little bit sad about Ja Morant. We're going to try and be optimistic and positive about the future there. It's fantastic news, and I think it's great for the hobby that LeBron is going to be signing. But it feels like by the time it starts happening, LeBron's going to be retired. So, but at least he's signing. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's planning, like while he's sitting back watching Bronny play, he's going to sign cards.
I'm not mincing words here. I want a LeBron autograph, and I think this gives me an opportunity to get one.
It opens the accessibility. Price. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I'm stoked about this.
Yeah, goodbye to the Warriors dynasty. Yeah, and Washington.
Sounded like a show recap, to be honest, Ed.
And then I don't want Jordan Poole on my team ever. That's my final thoughts.
Can you imagine if he got traded to the Lakers? That would be so delicious.
Is that grounds for me to actually to stop following the Lakers? No.
Can you imagine LeBron like holding his head, just watching Jordan Poole do Jordan Poole?
I think LeBron would embrace his inner Draymond and knock him out. Anyway.
But, I mean, they're friends, those two.
Oh goodness! But yeah, I think it was a really good show. I had a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing you back in Australia though. It's not far off.
No, it's not far off.
See
We'll
you
be
at the
back on
trade
the
day.
19th. Oh, yeah, 100%. Definitely.
Awesome.
Alrighty, guys. My final thoughts for today's episode is Ja Morant. I think keep your eye on the pricing on that because, yeah, if he halves, I think that's going to be a very interesting purchase. If that goes down to the 200-ish mark. And then the other one is Zion, isn't it? Like, that's the one that's really got me intrigued. Like,
What's the
dip
price
that
point?
part is
Because you're
sitting
getting tempted at 295.
Yeah, I am. I'm not even going to lie. Like, at what point do you just say that this is a buy?
It's true. Very true. Watch this space on Zion.
Yeah, I just think that it's just such a crazy sort of 2-year period, isn't it? Where we've gone from something being 2000. Okay, I'm making up numbers now. I'm just trying to pull up the stats as I'm. All right, so in the last 2 years, it's down 85%. So it started at 1,600. Old time data. It was a $2,000 card ad.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's down 87%. So it's sold for 2,055 at one point.
That's insane. I don't know. If it drops below 200, I think I'll buy it. I think that's my point, my price point. That's where it gets irresistible.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at those two though with Zion and Ja, I do think Ja is maybe the less risky buy. Like I know he's a bit of a scallywag, and I get all that stuff. And then
scallywag.
Okay, you know what I mean. He's been a naughty boy, and I also get that his body.
He throws himself at the game.
Victor Wembanyama than LeBron James. Like I get that, but at the same time, this whole Zion diet, like I think that is a real thing.
Yeah, agreed.
You know,
agreed. And that's probably why the price is the way it is. Yeah.
But that's one giant dip, isn't it? You know, I'd love to hear someone's perspective on this that's not a card-related person to say, like, these are the other factors that contributed to this. You know, people outside the hobby coming in, flippers, hedge fund investors that were jumping in on cards.
Yeah. Things that have impacted the overall economy, I guess, it's like the card economy. That is.
All right, I'm gonna leave it there with an unanswered question because I'm going to be lying in bed, I'm sure, thinking about this tonight.
Thinking about Zion, dreaming of Zion,
and Jars. Yeah, and like what's happening in this space. Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you so much.
Thanks for another great episode. Thanks to everybody. We're keen to know your thoughts on the eBay 1-of-1 situation.
Yeah, we'll chuck a post for that.
Yeah,
that sounds like a plan.
Yeah, just to trigger Russell even more.
Yeah, that's right. Just troll me relentlessly.
That's it. Yeah. You can put the post up so please invite everybody to troll you. Good. All right, guys. Until next week, we'll have a good time. Hopefully, pick up some good buys. See you all soon.